Hello and welcome to Karate Time. Hello everyone and welcome to Karate Time with a slight change of venue today. I say venue, I've just gone from that room to this room, but there we go. I need to make use of my computer for today's one because I didn't want to have lists and notes and all sorts of stuff sitting in front of me, and it's also quite dark in that room as well sometimes, and it wouldn't have been very good to video in there today. Today's topic I want to discuss is why karate will never be united and why it doesn't really matter. But before I get into that, I'm just going to say it's been another light week on content, not because I haven't been trying to get stuff done. It's just typically it's been throwing it down with rain all week, so I haven't been able to get outside to do any videos. I tried to do some inside and I just didn't have space or a good place to film, so I haven't been idle. There has been well, actually, the first of the Star Wars videos I mentioned, the analysis of the Star Wars combat, is all filmed and it just needs some editing, which is going to be happening after this video. So you have got that coming up this week. Bit different. I hope you enjoy it, but we'll wait and see till then. But anyway, so I haven't been doing nothing. Don't think I've been lazy. Right, karate organisations. Why we won't ever be united. The reason I've got my computer is I just did a quick search. List of karate organisations. And we've got the World Karate Federation. We've got the Shotokan. We've got the International Traditional Karate Federation. We've got the International Shotokan Karate Federation. We have the Japan Karate Federation. We have the Japan Karate Association. We have the Shotokan Karate of America. We have the USA National Karate Do Federation. We've got the Japan Shotokan Karate Association. We've got the World Union of Karate Do organisations. We've got the World United Karate Federation. And I don't even want to keep going off the page because the list is going to go on forever. Some of those, of course, I mentioned are country-based, but Japan alone, there's about 3 or 4 that are supposed to be Japan Karate organisation. And this is the problem in for all of us, is that if you want to go, okay, how many world champions are there in karate? There must be at least a dozen in every category, if not more, because every group holds their own world championships if they get to a world level. So at which point do you actually ever have a world champion if it comes to competition? I'm only talking about competition in this point. But the reason I bring this up is because the trend, just in my time of doing karate and then speaking to people who are older than I, who've been doing it longer, is that karate organisations typically... Cats have had their breakfast, they're on one now. Karate organisations typically have a history of splitting away from groups, and it's very rarely amicable as well, in my experience. You tend to get to a point where somebody decides, right, I want to go in my own direction with this. They may have had those thoughts in the background, but then there's some sort of disagreement and they say, right, I've had enough, and they go away and they form a new organisation with a slightly different name. And you end up with this separation of groups in martial arts. Now, the reason I say I don't think this matters, I do wish it happened on a more amicable basis, but from what I've seen, it doesn't tend to be very common to be done in that way. But even so, the reason I say it doesn't really matter is because even if there are 10, 20 world level organisations, the only people it really truly affects are going to be those that want to do competition. Now I'm not putting that aside, because that's important to those people. It's an important part of their karate experience. But the only place it would really matter is if you want to get to recognition with the likes of the Olympics. Now, of course, it was supposed to be in the Olympics this year, but with the lockdown and coronavirus pandemic and so on, it's not likely to happen. I'm not sure I don't know what the situation is with that. I haven't actually looked at it. But there was a recent post for the world level organisation our group is part of, and they're discussing whether they're going to make an announcement on whether they'll be able to do their championships later in this year. And so, of course, that is an important thing. There are still people training for it. There are still people training for it, but they don't actually know if they'll ever get to compete there this year anyway. But anyway, like I say, I don't think it really matters too much, because if you look at the history of karate, even back to, so if we stick to Shotokan for my purpose now, Shotokan itself was a split. When Funakoshi decided to take what he'd learned in Okinawa, his version of Okinawa Te that he was taught, and take it to Japan and call it karate, what happened was he converted a lot of what he did to fit a view that he thought Japanese would find more digestible and more acceptable from a cultural point of view. Because it's important to know as well that at the time, the Okinawan people were sort of looked at as second-class citizens in Japan. So an Okinawan coming over teaching martial arts may not have been the best and well-received thing. By converting a lot of it to a more Japanese mindset and practice, he was trying to gain acceptance on mainland Japan. And one of the evidence basis for this is actually that his relationship with Jigoro Kano, the founder of judo, he developed quite a strong friendship with him, and it was not just a personal friendship, but there was also almost a business arrangement there, because he knew that Kano's influence, having built judo up, could sort of make or break karate for him. If he had the support of Kano, then there was a good chance that he could get karate going. And actually, he did end up teaching karate originally to judo students in the Kodokan. The problem is though, with the changes that he made to karate, were not well received by the Okinawan masters, and he was not regarded as having done a favour to what they do. And of course, what's happened since is that you only have to look up a sort of a, if I just say like a Japanese master's tree, you can see from Funakoshi a split down. In fact, you can go further back. You can go back to Itosu and all the others as well, and you can see from Okinawa the split which led to the division that became, where you had heads of multiple different styles of karate and into different schools. And of course, it is like a family tree. It's just spread out and got bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's going to happen. It happened at what we consider the birth of karate as we know it, and it's still happening to this day. And the simple reason is martial artists are never going to agree. Everyone is going to come up with an idea that they think is not necessarily better than others, but is maybe not conducive to the relationship with people they already have, so they decide to pursue it in their own direction. And I think if they do that amicably and say, okay, I have a view on martial arts or on my style of karate that's become more personal now, and I want to take it in my own direction, I think most instructors would understand that, as long as the purpose behind why it's being done are, ostensibly good. I've got some other bits and pieces on my computer here as well that I was just throwing up for notes as well. That the other place that the only time that I think the lack of a single unified world organization is a problem is when we come to what our world level organizations do. And I don't have a great deal of experience in this, but from the experience I do have, I have yet to see a world level organization that actively enforces standards at the lowest level. And it's not to say that they don't put policies in place to say, you have to do X, Y, and Z, but they're normally joined by other organisations that have multiple clubs. So it's normally like a governing body that joins the World Organisation. The governing body is made up of multiple associations or organisations, and then those organisations have multiple clubs, or they could be an independent club. And when you work your way from top to bottom, the people at the top essentially rely on the governing body that joined them to be the one that enforces the standards of practice, and then the governing body relies on the heads of the organisations to be the ones that enforce the standards, and then those heads of organisations rely on their instructors to enforce the standards of practice, and so on. The reality is that it doesn't really happen that way. There's no top level oversight for martial arts, and in the UK there is an absolute disinterest at the government level for any sort of formalised qualifications or oversight or codes of practice. Now there has been a slight change in that in Sport England. They've started putting in, or they did start putting in a code of conduct for martial art coaches, and it's something that I followed from the early stages, but I'm in Wales and it doesn't apply to us. So it's again, we've got division just within our own island here. And the only time I think this is a problem is that it's very easy for a completely independent instructor to go and set up somewhere with absolutely no real oversight. There's no recognised standard qualification or accreditation that someone can apply to. They can essentially just get their own insurance, and they can have a coaching certificate from something, and it doesn't have to be necessarily related entirely to karate, and they can set up a club. The problem you get with that is you end up with some people who are just absolute charlatans when it comes to what they do, and they are taking advantage of students. I will say that it's certainly less prominent in the UK, and from what I've seen, less prominent in Europe. But the United States, oh my. Oh my, oh my. I mean, the no-touch knockout masters alone, I think that can be a topic for another conversation. Right, but I think that's probably all I need to say on this. So, just a quick recap is that, it doesn't matter that karate splits and divides, as long as it divides for good reasons. Okay, if the splits lead to further development, then what will happen is though someone will split away, they will develop an idea that will be well received and actually may lead to small groups of unity again. You'll end up with people joining together and getting back together and sharing the ideas. The problem we have is that if we split too much and the ideas never get shared, that's when there's an issue. I think if they become isolated, that's when we've got to be concerned. But world level organisations, there'll probably be another 20 of them over the next 20 years. Wouldn't be surprised, because there's going to be a group that says, no, I've got a better way of doing this, and off they go, and that's it. But like I say, I don't think it actually matters. I think karate and martial arts have a history of doing this well back before competition. It's just I would say that's the main motivator for it these days. But there we go. That's my 2 pennies on that subject. I've got video coming up, I said, with an analysis and martial arts perspective, and a massive Star Wars fans perspective as well, on the original trilogy of Star Wars and the lightsaber combat in that. I hope you'll find it interesting anyway, and I'll probably be publishing that on Tuesday, most likely. So keep an eye out for that one. Alright. And other than that, everyone enjoy your Sunday. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy a cup of tea if you still got one. And I'll catch you next time.